The colossal task of protecting the Olympics against a terrorist attack has been put to the test today. A major exercise is underway in the north of England to check how British airspace will be protected, bringing together the early warning systems and all the ground and air defence systems. It's the second of 5 such exercises, and today the Defence Secretary was at RAF Waddington to see it in action. Charlotte Cross reports.
Defence Secretary Philip Hammond spent the morning observing exercise Taurus Mountain 2 on board an E-3D Sentry surveillance plane. This is the first time all the elements involved in the air security plan for the Olympic Games have worked together as they ramp up their readiness to protect the airspace over London this summer. That protection is core business for the RAF, but during the Olympics, the defensive measures over the southeast of England will be reinforced. Those measures were on display at RAF Waddington today for the Defence Secretary's visit. The air security plan has 2 aims: to identify a possible threat using radar and other early warning systems, and secondly, to prevent an attack, responding to a specific threat with the appropriate weapon system. That could include scrambling Typhoon, firing Javelin missiles, or even deploying airborne snipers. This is the view an unauthorised aircraft might have if it encroaches on restricted airspace during the Games. And these are the RAF Regiment snipers, trained and ready to stop anything suspicious from the air.
The helicopters can get close into very slow-moving aircraft. The snipers can get good visual identification of the aircraft, working in conjunction with the aircrew and the organisation that's controlling the whole battle space.
The Rapier ground defence system might also be deployed across the capital, although that decision has yet to be taken. Its missiles are ready at a minute's notice to fire and can target 2 aircraft at the same time, although its most useful capability at the Olympics will be its radar.
So the radar at the end there, the dome, will be used to detect targets at a short range and low flying targets, which currently the British air traffic control system currently can't do. So we're going down there actually to fill the gap using that radar system. Ultimately, should we need to, we'll have the facility to engage aircraft if at all called upon to.
Assets will also be moved forward of their usual bases. There'll be 2 Typhoons and a Sea King based at Northolt at high readiness and able to deploy faster. The Tactical Air Control Centre will also move to London, and visual observers will be posted on the outskirts of the city to provide extra eyes and ears.
But for this operation, we're going to be housed alongside the battery command post for the ground-based air defence systems, who will be looking after the visual observers as well that will be operating in London, and therefore we'll give them good situational awareness and early warning of what's going on in the airspace.
From mid-July, the airspace over London will become either restricted or prohibited. According to the government, there is no reported threat against the Olympic Games, but they're not taking any chances. Charlotte Cross, Forces News, RAF Waddington.
Well, Charlotte spoke to the Defence Secretary Philip Hammond and asked him first how worried he was about the potential for an attack at the Olympics.
Well, there's absolutely no threat to the Olympics, and certainly no threat from the air as we see it at the moment, but we are preparing for every eventuality. We want people to come to London absolutely confident that they will be safe and secure as they enjoy the Games, and the military behind the police will be standing ready to deal with any threat that does emerge. And what you've seen here this morning is the great variety of assets that we've got available to provide a layered air defence response, different levels of radar to detect any threats, different levels of aircraft and missiles able to respond to deal with any threats that do arise.
And if there is such a threat, how are you going to ensure that the response is proportionate?
Well, that's why we have a layered response, capabilities from snipers in helicopters through ground-based missiles and Typhoon fast jets able to respond depending on the level of the threat. And all the way through the process, there will be a measured escalation of response, trying first of all to make contact with any rogue aircraft, then to deter it and persuade it to move away from the target area, and ultimately, if necessary, to engage with it. Ministers will be in overall control of this process throughout, and part of the point of these exercises is to rehearse the command and control procedures to make sure that we've got it right and we understand how it will work should we ever have to use these type of assets.
And how and when are you going to decide whether or not to deploy Rapier?
Well, that'll be a decision we make nearer to the time based on the threat level and based on the outcome of these exercises. We'll look at whether we think the threat level makes it appropriate, and we'll look at whether the outcome of the exercise suggests that it will be necessary.
And we've heard reports that some resources and assets are going to be withdrawn from operational areas such as Afghanistan to bolster the security of the Olympic Games. Is that the case?
I'm not aware of any assets that are being withdrawn from operational areas, but of course assets are rotated all the time between different uses. So kit is being brought backwards and forwards between the UK and Afghanistan all the time, but the assets that are on display here are assets that are usually based in the UK.
And the brigade that's in theatre at the moment is ripping out in April. If any of those personnel are going to be required for Olympic security, are there going to be any issues affecting leave?
No, leave is, post-deployment leave is something that's scheduled anyway. Everybody doesn't get home and then all immediately go off on leave. So post-deployment leave schedules will have to be rostered around any requirements to deploy during the Olympics. That'll be perfectly normal and people will still get their full entitlement of post-deployment leave.